All right, this is going to be some kind of White House briefing today because the press secretary is going to respond to what has become a very controversial call the president made to the widow of a soldier killed in Niger. I want to bring back Nia and Paul, as well as Ed Martin. He's a former Missouri Republican Party chair. And we also have Evan McMullen with us, a former CIA officer who has been critical of President Trump, for sure to say. Paul, when you look at this as someone who represents veterans, does it strike you about just how sad it is that we are talking about this fight?
Yeah, it's absolutely terrible. It's terrible for America, it's terrible for the military, and most of all, it's terrible for this family. So, the sooner the president can move the spotlight off this issue, the better all those groups will be. I mean, this is really, a new level of politicization of Gold Star families and of the military. It's part of a trend. If you look at the anthem and other issues, our veterans and military families and Gold Star families keep being thrust into the nastiness of Washington. And I hope the president can take a step back here, most of all, to just relieve the pressure that's on this family, Mrs. Johnson, who's got, kids and she's pregnant. I mean, dealing with things that are unimaginable. I've been around Gold Star families. This time for them is just unimaginable for anyone else. And they need support. They should be the focus of the entire country's support. And the more the president can do to drive support to that family and to get them out of the spotlight, the better they're going to be.
And Nia, you have a very much sort of a he said, she said, she said, she said going on, because the president is saying, no, I didn't say essentially, well, that's what he signed up for, to the widow and to Maisha. And then you have the mother of the slain soldier backing up the congresswoman who heard the call on speakerphone saying just that.
Yeah, and you have Trump saying, that the congresswoman is fabricating this whole story. This is a congresswoman who is close to that family, was kind of a mentor to Sergeant LaDavid Johnson, and so she knows that family very well. And you also have the president saying he can prove it, and that at some point the congresswoman will come out and sort of revise her initial statement. She has since been on Twitter and says that she stands by her initial assessment and statements in terms of what the president supposedly said on that call. It's really a mess. You see that video of that woman, Maisha Johnson, laying over the flag-draped casket of her husband with her little daughter there, who is in sort of a daze, right? I mean, she probably doesn't essentially fully understand what is going on, that she'll never see her father again, and you just mourn and grieve for that poor family that is dealing with this and now is in the glare of the national media and having this back and forth with the president. The president, when he was in that meeting, when he's going back and forth there with the congresswoman, should have used that opportunity to quash this and essentially say, again, the nation mourns with you. Johnson family, we are sorry for your loss. We will be there to support you. But again, he wants to go back and forth with this congresswoman, Representative Wilson. So again, we hope, I think today in this presser, the press secretary, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, will have an opportunity to move beyond this, and we hope that they do this for the good of that family.
Ed, you have supported President Trump.
You bet, yeah.
What do you think about what the president's doing here?
Yeah, Brianna, I mean, I think that these are sacred moments. Paul referred to this. These are moments that are unlike anything that we've ever seen, God willing. Maybe some of us have, when someone loses a spouse, a husband. If you read the president's comments at Heritage Foundation last night, he referred to a guy who was a 22-year-old cop in Vegas, and he said the phrase to Trump, to the president, I signed up for this to run towards defending the good against
but Ed,
the evil.
He's wait a second.
Let me finish. No, wait, let me finish. And the despicable conduct of this congresswoman to politicize this moment, no matter what the president said, imperfectly or not, the fact is that now the congresswoman is saying, I heard part of the thing on speakerphone. I tried to get the phone away. She took this and wanted a fight. She's a small-time congresswoman from Florida. Nobody ever heard of her, and she wanted to fight with the president. Now, do I wish that the president had said, go away, this is sacred time? Yeah, I kind of do. But you know what? We're having this conversation when he tried. This is not easy to do, to say to someone you lost your husband. And if he didn't do it as well as you or I or someone would like, fine. But I think it's really terrible that we're dragging this out and saying he didn't say sorry well enough. And frankly, I think he's sick of it, because I think he does it over and over in sacred moments, and it's not an easy thing to do, and he should be given some space. Why don't we go and talk about some of the policy things? I think that's much more meaningful.
Ed, to talk about this point, do you think your point would be easier to take if he hadn't politicized this very thing himself in the Rose Garden?
No, the Congress.
No. Prior to that, in the Rose Garden, he said Obama didn't call troops.
Well,
the previous presidents didn't, and that was not correct.
I think what's hard is when you're the president, and those moments are so tough. I think what he was saying was nobody does it on a schedule. Obama didn't call Kelly about his son. We know that now. That's factual. I wish the president hadn't said never called.
And Trump hasn't called all of the soldiers' families who died.
But that's what he conceded. And so we're making a political problem out of something sacred. No, well, he did. He's done it now. I mean,
No. There are two women who lost their husbands in August who did not get a call or a letter from President Trump, and CNN has verified that. Paul, can you respond to what you just heard from Ed?
This whole scorekeeping piece is just disgusting. Like, for America,
I agree.
like, everyone's sick of this. Everyone's disgusted by it. Like, the people who need space are the families. The Gold Star families say they want space. They need that space. They deserve that space. And the president can set a tone. He is the commander-in-chief. There's an opportunity for him to do it right now in this press conference. On any day, he can take us out of this fray. He can move it up. We can move on to other things. And that's what we need from the commander-in-chief right now.
Evan, what do you think?
Well, I think I'm going to surprise Ed and others by giving a little bit of credit to his argument, which is it is possible to make a statement about someone's sacrifice in service, knowing that they were signing up to do something that was very difficult and may cost them their lives. The problem here is that the president is a transactional person. He brings that from the business world where it makes more sense. But the problem is that in this world, in the world of service to one's country, especially in combat, you don't make those decisions. You don't decide to serve in a transactional way, because there's no transaction that makes sense for your life in that way. You have to do it only because you're motivated by an aspirational reason to serve the country for something bigger and higher than yourself. And I think that's where there's a disconnect between President Trump and the families who have sacrificed and the soldiers themselves. And it's one that is a stylistic difference, but one that ends up having an impact. Because if you're overseas now and you're in battle and you're hearing bullets rip the air past your head and rockets land around you, you want to know that the president understands that you have made a decision to serve something higher than yourself, to serve the country. It's not just a transactional arrangement that you have for which no sympathy is deserved when something bad happens.
But Evan, nobody said there was no sympathy. Brianna, I mean, look, in the military right now, I think if you went and polled the military, morale is up. I mean, General Mattis is leading well. Again, a congresswoman is saying it wasn't done well enough. She seems pretty fired up about it. I think we need to make a little space, and I like what Paul said. Try to pull it back on this and give more space for the
family. If I may, Ed,
you mentioned morale, sir.
Yeah. Sorry, go on, Paul.
No, you mentioned morale. Like, I think we can all agree this is bad for morale. When you're overseas and you see the country ripping itself apart and we don't have leadership that can pull us out of it, that's bad for morale. So the longer this goes on, the worse it is for morale, the worse it is for the morale of the veterans here at home, for our political dialogue. That's why we need leadership to move past this.
Okay, but Ed, I don't know if you can just hang this on the Congresswoman, because the mother of this slain soldier... If I may, the mother of this slain soldier said that President Trump did disrespect my son.
Right. Okay. Do you want to know the answer? The Congresswoman led this out into the public and went and sought a major fight.
So you're saying it's okay as long as he as long as she feels privately that he disrespects.
If you're going to ask me a question, let me finish the answer. Here's what she did. She said, "I'm going to make it into a big deal," and then the mother backed her up on that. The mother didn't hear the call. We haven't heard from the wife. This is all sacred space.